So good, so good, so good.
Score holiday gifts everyone wants for way less at your Nordstrom Rack store. Save on UGG, Nike, Rag & Bone, Vince, Frame, Kurt Geiger London, and more.
Because there's always something new.
I'm giving all the gifts this year with that extra 5% off when I use my Nordstrom credit card. Santa who?
Join the Nordy Club at Nordstrom Rack to unlock our best deals. It's easy. Big gifts, big perks. That's why you rack.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
The Last Show with David Cooper, where we utilize non-linear reverse, inverse, backward thinking protocols. It sounds like this.
Are we living in the golden age of employee monitoring, workplace surveillance? Are employees spying on our every move using our devices, from office Wi-Fi to your work phone? How much power does your boss really have over you right now? Well, that's what we're going to discuss with someone who's recently written an article about this. His name is Tim Paradis. He's a future of work correspondent at Business Insider. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, David. Great to be here.
So are we at a kind of turning point in workplace surveillance, or does it just feel this way because the tools that employers use are more visible, more people talk about them, and in some ways they're kind of more acceptable right now?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I mean, I think maybe your second point there is where we're at. It certainly is getting a little bit more attention from, at least from the folks that I spoke to. And I also think because, employees have less power than they did just a few years ago, it feels like they just don't have as much room to push back if they really wanted to on this.
Yeah, employees can't say, hey, I'm not going to work at this place that tracks me on my work phone. The frame right now is, I'm happy to have a decent job, so they surveil me. What are you going to do? Is that kind of what people are saying?
That's what I heard from some folks, essentially, who look at this. And they, again, it's nothing new that employers are looking at their employees and monitoring what they're doing. I think that there have been some recent updates at Google and at Microsoft that would allow some of this stuff to happen more easily. Employers would still have to opt in, but a lot of times when we're signing up those, that first day paperwork we do at a job, we're saying we're allowing, we're consenting to the idea that our employers rather are going to monitor us. So it just kind of happens, I think, early on.
I remember at my old job, you had to install some fancy certificate on your personal phone if you wanted your work email to come onto your personal phone, and I just refused to do it, so I didn't have my work email on my personal phone. Is it stuff like that? Like, what kind of technology is being used? What information does the average, large, maybe tech-oriented employer have on me? It's
a great question. So it depends on the device. So if it's a work device, it's all of it, right? Which I guess stands to reason. I think most employees would say, yeah, if you handed me this phone, I have to assume that you can look at anything that you want to on this. Where it gets a little trickier, and those are some of the tech updates that have gotten a little bit better. So employers have more ability to capture, they say for compliance reasons, some information that's on your work phone. If it's a personal device, yeah, oftentimes, like you said, you have to install some sort of token or something like that allows the employer to go on and at least grab the stuff that they would need to prevent data loss or to monitor certain things. One good thing is, from someone I spoke to about this, that they did say, back in the day, it was, if you're going to have any work information on your phone and the employer needs to decide they need to wipe that either because you're a threat or because you leave the company or something like that, they could wipe the whole phone. It's gotten a lot more surgical to where they can just go and take the things off that pertain to work, which is a good thing. But so they can really, they have fairly wide latitude to look at anything that they need to that pertains to the job.
So what should I not be doing on my work laptop or my work phone? And yes, if you need to answer this question inappropriately, you are welcome to.
Okay, well, as shocking as it may seem, you probably shouldn't be looking at porn or other sensitive things on your work phone. Certainly, and also with a more serious topics, I think that's so obvious to most anyone. But things like, be mindful about things like looking at your medical records or other things that you would not have. You wouldn't feel comfortable having an employer take a look at. So just be thoughtful about what you're doing and where.
Here's my hot take. If you're going to send me on work travel across the country, I'm only bringing my work laptop, and I'm going to do whatever I want on business travel on that work laptop, including whatever websites I might use in my spare time, and get your head out of the gutter. That's my hot take. Has anyone ever been fired that you know of for looking at, like, you're in your hotel room, you've traveled to some small American city to have a work meetup with your coworkers or whatever, you're staying in one of those cruddy hotels, and it's nighttime, you go on your laptop. Has anyone ever been fired for that? I don't know.
That's a really good question. I don't know. I will say that a lot of monitoring happens kind of at in the background, sort of automatically, and then certain things can get flagged. So they might say, hey, this requires more attention. We noticed that David is in some city somewhere that's particularly unexciting for him, so he's spent a lot of time in his hotel room at night, and
watching Netflix shows. Come on,
yeah, I know. No, I'm sorry, I apologize. My mind's in the gutter. No, I don't know how much that happens. It just would be. I think most people would think that that's probably ill-advised if from a smell test, common sense test, but but it is smart to remember that these are work devices and that there is a wall there.
Now, are most employees collecting this data and then kind of doing nothing with it, and it's just sitting there, constant pings of whether you're in the office, whether you were online, what websites you were going to, how many minutes you spent in your email app, in your code tools, in your photo editor, if you're a graphic designer? Are they really collecting all this and then maybe not acting on it and just having a huge pile of data? Like, what is actually being collected?
That's a good question. It's my understanding that a lot of this, from the folks I talk to, that a lot of this is passive, as you say, that they just kind of have this stuff humming in the background. And then if there's some sort of tripwire, there's some sort of event, or there's some sort of massive transfer of files, or there's some inappropriate website, or there's somebody who somehow is showing some rogue behavior, or even just something, not nefarious at all, but like reports a device lost or whatever else, like that they can then take a closer look at that stuff. But from the people that I talked to, that it wasn't like they're sitting there looking at, I'm sure some employers logging every keystroke and looking at that and, for a means of measuring productivity, but it doesn't seem like what most companies are doing, if that's fair.
For someone who's listening thinking, am I being monitored right now? And I don't even know it. Should they be asking their employer questions? Should they be sticking up for themselves? Should they trying to be advocating for more privacy? Is there anything we can do?
Yeah, I talked to a couple folks who said, absolutely, ask questions. It's not unreasonable to just ask what's being collected and what's being done with it, especially if you just want to know, what's in bounds, what's not. I wouldn't imagine that that it would be a problem to go ahead and ask. And that's what folks told me who are experts in this area. And also, frankly, just to get a sense. And even if you say, I'm not going to do something that's wildly off the mark, like looking at inappropriate websites on a work device, I'm going to at least want to know, are they, again, monitoring how many emails I'm sending, or the tone of my Slack messages, or, things like that, or just keystroke monitoring simply.
Are there types of industries where this is more common, like maybe the tech industry or the finance industry? Are there any specific industries where I'm more likely to be monitored? Or if I have a work laptop, I'm likely monitored no matter what I do?
Well, I would say that that's true, that you're likely monitored no matter what you do if you have a work device. What I would say is that there are industries where there's going to be maybe increased monitoring or closer monitoring, and that would be ones where there's a heavy compliance component. So think finance, think medical. You worry about, say, in the U.S., like HIPAA violations, privacy violations around medical information. So those kinds of things, there's likely to be stepped up monitoring, as well as companies that do a lot in. And I'm thinking now of, like, say, consulting firms or things like that. There's a lot of intellectual property where they're going to want to make sure that does not leave the corporate walls, and so therefore they're going to want to make sure that people are not sending stuff around that they shouldn't.
Well, you can read Tim Paradis' article, Welcome to the Golden Age of Employee Monitoring and Business Insider, where he is a future of work correspondent. Tim, I've enjoyed the chat. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Great time.
Doug. Here we have the Lemur Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu, is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.